Hello. So I decided to do my history book talk on The Help by Catherine Stockett. So the author is Catherine Stockett. It was published in 2009. It has 444 pages, and I checked the book out from my local library in Shelbyville, Kentucky. I chose this book for a few reasons. The first one is because I think that segregation in the civil rights movement tends to get glossed over a lot in history class. History classes, I feel like, at least in my experience when I was in school, have tended to focus a lot on slavery and the Civil War. And then after that's over and they've talked about Reconstruction, the experience of African Americans in this country is just kind of skipped over at that point. And the truth is that it did not get better for a long, long time, and it still isn't perfect. So I think it's important that we teach those experiences too. And I think also that we forget as a society that segregation was really not that long ago at all. There are so many people who are alive today who experience segregation, and it's important that we just keep in mind that we are not that far from it. So I think it's just really important that we teach that to our children. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved this book. It was a real page turner. I was really invested in the characters and what was happening to them. I wanted to know what was going to happen next at every second. I think it does a good job at highlighting the experiences of African American, specifically African American women at this time. The only reason that I would give it 4 stars instead of 5 is because the author is a white woman. She's not an African American woman. And I feel like it might have been better if it had actually come from the perspective of who the book is talking about. They would have been maybe more knowledgeable about their experiences. However, I still think she did a really great job. She's clearly done her research, and it was also on an easy reading level. I did not struggle with any passages. I don't think students would struggle with any passages. It was just very conversational tone the whole time. So I think that students could definitely get a lot out of it because it was just a very easy read. And so the plot description, the year is 1962 in Jackson, Mississippi. 22-year-old Eugenia Phelan, nicknamed Skeeter. She's a white woman, and she has just returned home after graduating from Ole Miss with the dream of becoming a writer. Segregation is the law at this time, and she comes up with the idea to write an anonymous book detailing the true experiences of the African American maids in the town. So at this time, pretty much every white family, unless they're poor, has an African American maid who does the cooking and the cleaning. Particularly her family and all of her friends' families do. And she is kind of starting to notice the inequality and kind of start to feel like it's wrong. So she thinks that it would be interesting to interview these women for to learn about their experiences. But it's really taboo for her to even have a personal friendship with any of these women. So she has to do it in secret. So she secretly asks Abilene, who is her best friend's maid, to help her in this mission. And she kind of has to do some convincing because Abilene is really afraid that she's going to get in trouble with her boss, the family that hires her. But eventually she agrees. And together they are eventually able to recruit even more maids to the cause. So the whole book is about Skeeter interviewing these women about their experiences and putting together the book. And just different women from different backgrounds joining together for a cause to cross the unfair lines that have defined their town for generations. So yeah, overall, I would definitely recommend this book. Here is a quote, my favorite quote from the book. It says, "All my life I'd been told what to believe about politics, coloreds, and being a girl. But with Constantine's thumb pressed in my hand, I realized I actually had a choice in what I could believe. And that quote's from Skeeter on page 122. Constantine is the maid that Skeeter's family had when she was a child. Whenever she came back from college, Constantine had mysteriously disappeared, and her parents would not tell her where she went. So that's also part of the book, that Skeeter is trying to figure out where Constantine went. But I really love this quote because it kind of shows through her personal relationship with the maid that worked through her own family. She was able to realize that her maid was just as deserving of a equality in regular life as she was, and she didn't have to listen to what her parents or what society told her. She could kind of break out of those strict lines of thinking and decide to write this book and promote equality. So that is the end of my book talk. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you read this book and I hope that you like it.